there YouTube. You know what I haven't done for a really long time, which I love. I love the series. It's one of my favourite Transformers toy lines in existence. Second possibly to Beast Wars in my affections. Transformers animated. I love animated. I love the cartoon. The toys are by and large absolutely superb. So what I thought I'd do today is an animated double bill. I particularly like from this line the deluxes. I think the smaller toys are vastly superior by and large to the bigger ones. The only one I can think of that stands as an exception that proves the rule is Ultra Magnus. Ultra Magnus is an amazing toy. But the other leader classes, although not terrible by and large, are not as good as the deluxes. The smaller toys are excellent. So what I'm going to do is a double bill of 2 today. Incidentally, I went to see Pirates 4 as a matter of work the other day. I had to take one of the guys I look after to go and see it. What a pile of wank. I mean, seriously. Oh, God, it's a dreadful film. I mean, I'd read some of the reviews and I knew that it wasn't doing well critically, but that doesn't really mean anything. The Fountain didn't do well critically, and I fucking loved that. Neither did the second Pirates film, which I actually think is my favourite. But God, it's just appalling. Anyway, I'll probably do a proper review of that at some point. Let's have a look at some plastic. This lovely specimen is Transformers Animated Soundwave. And like all of the Transformers Animated toys, Soundwave is he's sort of a caricature of previous incarnations of the character. Unlike previous forms of Soundwave, though, this guy isn't technically a Decepticon, although he is most certainly marked as such. In the cartoon, he's actually created as a sort of a potential body form for Megatron, who spends most of the first season incapacitated as a giant disembodied head in Sumdac Industries. Megatron creates various different body forms throughout the course of the season, most of which stand as failures. Soundwave is initially created as a toy, as a very advanced children's toy that can create lights and sound shows, and is actually like a small programmable robot, but which is accidentally infused with Allspark power and therefore takes on a kind of sentience that is itself corrupted by Megatron's influence, and as a result Soundwave is born. He's very cool in the show, actually. He has a lot of characteristics of Generation 1 Soundwave, including the voice, the proclivity to manipulate sound waves and all that sort of thing, but he's actually much more active. He has an ideology. He believes that machines are slaves to humanity and that machines are fundamentally superior, and he sees himself as a kind of liberator. He never actually interacts with the other Decepticons in Transformers Animated, which is interesting. I'm sure if he did ever come across Megatron, he would regard him as a kind of messiah figure and be grovelingly loyal, a bit like Lugnut or Shockwave. Anyway, that's the character, and this is the plastic. It's an odd body form for Soundwave. Soundwave has always been slightly problematic since his G1 incarnation, because his G1 incarnation is a kind of communication device. It's a multimedia device that was quite prevalent in the 80s. It's a cassette player, but you know, it's so inert. It's such an inert alt mode that that latter incarnations have found it difficult trying to find something that communicates his nature, but which is still consistent with the original form. Now it's not necessarily redolent of what Soundwave actually is. It's just a standard van former, really. It has some very nice markings, and those markings there are actually references to the G1 Soundwave. These represent the buttons that were on the cassette player mode, which is rather cool. But even so, even though it's not entirely redolent of the character, I think the best form the character has had in recent incarnations is actually the satellite form from his movie incarnation. Although I would like to see a more classic representation of it. I think a satellite is a really cool, fitting form for Soundwave. Anyway, that is his alt mode. It's quite nice. I mean, I'm not that big a fan of car formers or of van formers. They tend to be a little dull. This is nice. It has some interesting markings. It's very, very solid. It rolls well. hardly any indication of robot. It's really very, very tight. Very, very cool thing. He also comes with this guy. This is Laserbeak, and he's gorgeous, actually. Really, really beautiful Condor mode there. Unlike his previous incarnations, he does not turn into a cassette player. He turns into a guitar, which Soundwave can hold as a weapon, which is actually really rather cool and looks great. There's also a silly little thing where you can sit Laserbeak on the top here. I'm not really sure what that's for. It doesn't really seem to do anything. Right then, onto his transformation. Now, this is what I love about the animated deluxes. Their transformations are deceptively involved. They look really, really simple when you sit down and hold the toy. But when you actually start to transform it, you realise, you know what, this is really rather clever. I mean, this leg transformation is really quite complicated. It's complicated but intuitive, and I know I use that combination so much, especially in reference to animated and Beast Wars figures, but it's true. These guys epitomise it. Much more so than the bigger figures do, which tend to be a little bit more unsatisfying, really, in terms of their transformation. This is nice. I love this. You see that portion there, the chest portion? Just a very simple little transformation. You have to bring it up on this double hinge and just fix it into place there to form the chest. That's gorgeous. That's a really lovely little detail. Flip out his little hands. He doesn't have fists like other Transformers. He actually has open hands so that he can play his guitar. And here is the money shot. And there, ladies and gents, is Transformers animated Soundwave. He's very caricatured, very cartoon-like, like all the animated figures, but is clearly based off of G1 Soundwave. He is clearly a homage to G1 Soundwave, including that wonderful face sculpt. His face sculpt is gorgeous. And he has this wonderful blockiness about him, which I really like. This sort of breadth and width and a squatness that is very, very cute. He's also brilliantly solid and articulated, and just a satisfying piece of work. I think this is actually, alongside the War for Cybertron Generation Soundwave, this is one of my favourite Soundwave toys. He's covered in wonderful details. That gold really offsets the blue beautifully. And what I really love is the fact that you can get Laserbeak. Ooh, fuck, that's not supposed to happen. Bodes well, doesn't it? Ooh, there we go. You can get Laserbeak and transform him into this rather groovy guitar and fit it into Soundwave's hands. Now then, how do we do this? It's really simple, actually. There's just posts and ports that you fix into Soundwave's arms, but it looks very much like he's holding it. So there is Soundwave rocking out with Laserbeak in tow. In the cartoon, he could manipulate sound waves and radio waves and electronic impulses and control machines, induce hallucinations in the Autobots and all sorts of things. And Laserbeak kind of enhanced those capacities, as Ratbat did later. Ratbat turned into a keyboard, I believe. Anyway, there is Transformers animated Soundwave, and he is absolutely stunning. I think one of my favourite characters from animated, and one of my favourite toys as well. Just highly recommended. So solid, brilliant plastic, awesome transformation, well worth it. But even Soundwave pales in comparison to the next toy. This bot is bringing sexy back. He really is. Again, in the cartoon, he was fantastic. Didn't appear very much, but in the episodes where he did, he was so smooth, so charismatic. Another character who is kind of a nominal Decepticon, really. This is Transformers animated Swindle, and anyone who's been a Transformers fan for a while will recognise both this body form and the name. Swindle in G1 was one of the Combaticons, just one of the Scramble City combiners, a bit of a shit toy, really. He's really horrible, blocky, disproportionate, like all of the Scramble City combiners, weird, tiny, tiny, tiny pinhead. But for some reason, something about the character caught on, and he's certainly become kind of a fan favourite. As a result, he gets a Transformers animated incarnation, and none of the other Combaticons do. Now, this toy is fucking lovely. It is very much like Soundwave, a blatant homage to G1 Swindle. His character in the cartoon was fantastic. They portrayed him in his essence as a sort of wheeling, dealing, smooth-talking huckster. He is an arms dealer, Swindle. He's not really much of a warrior as such. In fact, in G1, his motto was make deals, not war, which is kind of an interesting one for a Decepticon. Swindle in animated was only a nominal Decepticon. He took on the Decepticon label simply because it allowed him more opportunities than the restrictions of the Autobots would. But you know what? He would gladly trade with anyone so long as the price was right. He's an expert in munitions and armaments and weaponry, and he saves all the very best for himself. So he's actually quite capable in combat. His body is littered with various different redundant weapon systems and defense systems. 90% of the time in Transformers Animated he was acting alone on his own agendas, although he was seen a couple of times interacting with the likes of Megatron and whatnot, but he was quite irreverent, really. He doesn't have any notion of like the Decepticon ideology or anything like that. He's in it for himself and no one else, and he's fantastic at it as well. Anyway, that's Swindle, and this is his toy. He is lovely. He's a kind of military jeep. Again, the form is just this wonderful package of references to his G1 form, which was also a sort of military style jeep with one of these big disproportionate cannons sticking out of the top. Gorgeous, gorgeous purple, offset by this slightly greenish mustard colour. It doesn't really do much, but it doesn't need to. It is a fantastic body form. Wonderful, wonderful, solid, waxy plastic. Rolls gorgeously, looks great. Really can't say anything much more about it. Now, transformation-wise, again, this guy's a bit like Soundwave. He is deceptively complicated for a deluxe. There's lots going on here, but once again, intuitive, easy to figure out without the instructions. And the results are spectacular. He looks wonderful in his bot mode. Now then, this is one of the more complicated transformations that I like. His hands are awesome. It's a little transformation. It's almost redundant, but all you have to do is slide out the grill there to form his articulated transparent plastic digits, and then flip them round the side of the arm until they click in to form the hands. That is just... it's the kind of transformation that the animated toys have in abundance. They don't always work. Some of them are over-ambitious and sort of over-egg the pudding a little bit. A really good example I could think of is the Jetfire double pack. Jetfire and... who is it? Jetfire and Jetstorm? The combiners, they're shocking toys. Nice idea, but it just didn't work. These simpler toys that are light on gimmicks but heavy on excellent design are everything that's good about the animated line. And you know, if you're one of those people who's sort of like a bit about animated because of the unusual style, or because just something about it puts you off, I can highly recommend that you pick up this guy and you'll be converted. This guy, or Soundwave actually, you will be converted by them. They are stunning. Now then, let's get that head up. I'm kind of tempted to go for a sort of necroscope thing and say that's what she said, but I'm above that. Now then, all I need to do is get his little gun little, not really little. It's gives Megatron a run for its money in terms of scale, that one. Oh, God, I tell you what, I love this toy. He is so cute in his robot mode. He's so cute. There's a lot more in terms of purple going on here to contrast with the camo colour. Look at that head. I tell you what, that head is so G1 Swindle. It's got the big, big purple eyes. It's got that knowing smirk, that self-assured, charming, knowing smirk. He's actually quite cute for a Transformer, insofar as it's possible to sort of have a crush on one. There's him and the Silverbolt from Beast Wars. He's cute and charming and really, really rather cool. He also has all of these wonderful redundant weapons, these things sticking out of his shoulders that you can actually flip down behind him. If you open his chest, you can flip out this weensy little Gatling gun which sticks out of his chest and just adds to the arsenal. He looks fantastic. This is a bit of a cheat because those aren't the windows of the Jeep mode. It's a little bit of a cheat, and it's something that the animated toys do a fair bit. If you look at the deluxe Bumblebees, they do it quite a lot. But it doesn't matter. When the results are this cool, it just doesn't matter. I like to display him in this mode because it's fantastic. It's coherent, it's characterful, it's gorgeous colours, articulate, fun to play with. What more do you want from a toy? These guys are just everything that's good about animated. If you want to see everything that's bad, you need to pick up the Supreme Optimus Prime, which is like a Fisher-Price toy. It sucks arse. Or you need to pick up the likes of Jetfire and Jetstorm, which are the overly ambitious ones, the ones that go for gimmick, not for character, not for flavour, not for quality, and fail as a result. These things, the deluxes, I would happily pick up every deluxe in the animated line. They are fucking spectacular.